They used to call her the Undertaker of the living. In Portland's underworld, you didn't hire Amelia Voss to kill someone, you hired her to make them vanish. For 12 years, she built her career as a clean exit strategist, a specialist who helped high-profile criminals, embezzlers, and whistleblowers fake their deaths and re-emerge somewhere far from the reach of law or revenge. She orchestrated the perfect illusions: car crashes, boating accidents, suicides without bodies. Every case ended the same: ashes, grief, and silence. Until one didn't. In October 2022, Amelia received a client who would unravel everything: Daniel Kaur, a tech financier accused of laundering cryptocurrency for an arms network. He wanted out. She gave him one. But 2 weeks later, Daniel's fake death turned up very real. And the police, armed with her playbook, were already tracing the fingerprints on her work. The first rule of faking a death: don't make it look smart. Real deaths are messy, emotional, filled with mistakes. So Amelia made her operations believably imperfect. Her workshop sat beneath a defunct funeral home in northeast Portland, a labyrinth of cold rooms, false ID presses, incinerators, and a single glowing corkboard where she tracked each client's afterlife. Every name had a color-coded tag: green for active, red for deceased, blue for retired. Daniel Kaur's name was written on a yellow one. Unfinished business. He came to her with that particular mix of desperation and arrogance unique to the wealthy who suddenly find the law breathing down their necks. "I don't want to run," he'd said, his voice taut, precise. "I just want to not exist anymore." Amelia studied him, mid-40s, silver hair slicked back, eyes that flicked around the room like security cameras. He wasn't a criminal by instinct, he was one by convenience. The kind who believed money could buy absolution. "You understand," she'd told him, "once I do this, you're dead for good. There's no coming back." He smiled. "That's the point." Amelia planned his exit with surgical care. A boating accident off the Oregon coast. Believable, dramatic, body unrecoverable. She arranged for a stolen boat, a GPS scrambler, and a burner drone to stage the explosion. She forged the Coast Guard reports, seeded eyewitness accounts, even left a false trail of personal belongings. Daniel was to slip into a secondary identity: Evan Corrin, a Canadian consultant with a legitimate passport, waiting in a safe house near Vancouver. Everything checked out. Everything worked. Until Amelia got a call 3 days later. The police had found Daniel's body washed ashore, charred, missing fingerprints, but conclusively him. It was impossible. The DNA couldn't have matched. She'd burned the samples, switched them with a John Doe. Yet the report said it did. Amelia stared at the screen, reading the words over and over until they blurred. Either someone had copied her method, or Daniel had turned his own trick against her. The Portland Police Bureau didn't know what to make of it. Detective Lila Hart was the first to notice inconsistencies. A meticulous woman in her late 30s with freckled skin, auburn hair tied back, and eyes like tempered glass, she'd worked cold cases for years. The core case was supposed to be open and shut. Rich man flees justice, dies trying. But the autopsy bothered her. "He's too clean," she told her partner. "Burned, sure. But the dental matches too perfectly. You know how rare that is after an explosion." Then she found Amelia's name. A recurring ghost in half a dozen disappearance cases. No charges, no convictions, but whispers everywhere. When they came knocking at Amelia's workshop, she greeted them with calm precision, as if expecting them. She offered tea. She smiled politely. She lied flawlessly. "Daniel Kaur hired me as a digital consultant," she said. "Helped him encrypt files. That's all." Hart didn't believe her, but she couldn't prove otherwise. Not yet. Amelia didn't sleep for days. Someone had executed her plan with absolute precision, but replaced the fake corpse with the real one. That took access, timing, and a motive. When she reopened the secure drive she'd used to store Daniel's plan, she found a new folder. One she hadn't created. Inside was a single image, a photo of her workshop, taken from across the street. And beneath it, a note. Clean exit, Amelia. For both of us. Her stomach turned cold. Someone was using her own system to frame her. She cross-checked every old client file, names, aliases, movements, and one stood out. Elena Drexler, a jewel thief she'd killed off 3 years ago after a botched Paris heist. Elena had vanished without a trace. But 2 months earlier, Amelia had seen her reflection in a cafe window. Same eyes, same tattoo behind her ear. Now Amelia was sure. Elena was alive. And she wanted something. Amelia tracked Elena's last digital trace to Seattle, a black market data broker hub where new identities were traded like currency. She disguised herself as one of her own clients. Dark wig, brown contacts, a fabricated scar along her jaw. But old ghosts recognize each other. In a smoky bar filled with hackers and ex-cons, she found Elena, alive, confident, wearing a red leather jacket and that same tattoo curling up her neck, a thorned vine. Elena, Amelia whispered. Elena smiled, sipping whiskey. Amelia Voss. The woman who kills people so they can live again. I should thank you. What did you do to Cor? Elena's smile hardened. I just finished what you started. You made him disappear. I made sure it was permanent. She slid a flash drive across the table. You built a business on vanishing people. Now someone's making you vanish. And the fun part? It's not me. When Amelia opened the drive later, she found surveillance logs, offshore payments, and digital forgeries, all pointing back to her. Someone higher was orchestrating this. Someone who wanted both Daniel Cor and her erased. By the time Amelia returned to Portland, Hart was already waiting. The detective had obtained a warrant. Her lab, her notes, her devices, everything confiscated. Hart cornered her outside the morgue. You're smart, Voss. But I've seen smart people bury themselves in their own lies. Amelia's voice stayed even. If I wanted Daniel Cor dead, I wouldn't have made it look like one of my own jobs. That's what makes it believable. When Hart left, Amelia saw something impossible through the morgue's glass wall. On the table lay Daniel's burned corpse, but there was a mark on the wrist, a small triangle tattoo. She'd seen that tattoo before. On Elena. The truth hit her in a rush. The body wasn't Daniel's. It was a fake made from a real corpse. Someone had killed another man, altered dental records, planted DNA. Someone who understood her process intimately. The trap was closing. The FBI took over the case, framing Amelia as a suspect in an elaborate fraud murder network. News channels called her the death maker of Portland. But Amelia had already vanished. Using Elena's data, she traced the real culprit, Leon Rake, her former mentor, the man who taught her how to construct false deaths before disappearing himself in 2014. He'd resurfaced as a ghost broker, using her system to eliminate witnesses, hiding real murders behind fabricated ones. Daniel Cor hadn't hired Amelia directly. Rake had posed as his intermediary, using her name. When Cor tried to pull out, Rake silenced him, then framed her for it. Amelia found Rake hiding in a decaying warehouse near the Willamette River, surrounded by servers and generators humming like bees. He looked older, gaunter, his pale skin ghost-like under flickering lights. You made it too perfect, Amelia, he said. The best con is believing your own lie. You should have stayed in the dark. She stepped forward, gun steady. I'm here to clean up my mistake. When the police finally stormed the warehouse, they found only one body, burned beyond recognition. DNA inconclusive. But they also found one final signature in the system, Leon Rake, deceased. Filed by A. Voss. Months passed. Detective Hart stood at the riverside where the warehouse once stood, holding an unmarked envelope that had arrived on her desk that morning. Inside were a flash drive and a note. Case closed. Clean exit. The drive contained everything: the blueprints, the clients, Rake's network, and evidence exonerating Amelia. Enough to indict a dozen people. But there was something else too, an image file. A cafe in Buenos Aires. A woman sitting by the window, sunlight cutting across her face. Dark hair. Gray eyes. Reading a book called The Art of Disappearing. Hart smiled faintly. "You got away," she murmured. "But maybe you earned it." She closed the file. Outside, the rain began again. Years later, Clean Exit became the title of a documentary podcast hosted by Lila Hart herself, its central question haunting every episode. How do you catch someone who already erased themselves? No one ever found Amelia Voss again. Some say she fled to Argentina under a new name. Others claim she works quietly in Eastern Europe, ghosting people who need to vanish from corrupt regimes. But for every death that doesn't add up, for every missing person whose trail ends too neatly, the whisper resurfaces. She's still out there. Watching. Cleaning up.